What's going on?
Who will be speaking? Who will be? I know it's one.
But you got to change, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing is that I do not know why this feedback happened right now. So I will be standing back there. If it happens, I'm going to mute it from there.
Okay.
I don't think so it will happen. This is the first time we have heard it. I don't know
Yeah.
what is the reason for it. क्योंकि हम जब साल हो गया सिस्टम को वारंटी भी खत्म हो गई so the day after warranty, right? So I don't know when the feedback will come. But inshallah, so I'll be back there just in case. I'll mute it for a second and return it.
ठीक है. السلام عليكم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل بدعة ضلالة. The last month's khutbah, I had talked about some of my reflections and the lessons we can learn from the story of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. This will be the part 2 of 3-part series of khutbahs based upon verses 15 to 44 in Surah Namal, 30 verses. And I had mentioned that the life of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam has been looked upon by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through at various levels, through various angles. He is depicted to us as a human being, what kind of a person he was. He was a king, a prophet, a warrior, the leader of an army, and a diplomatic person as well. Last time we talked about him as a human being and how he was humble despite all the glories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had bestowed upon him and his father. And whenever he thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he always included his parents. So if this is all you remember from the first khutbah, this is all I remember as well, then this should be good. Now we look at another aspect of his character. He is a king. At the same time, he is an administrator, and he is the head of his own army. I want you to focus on this for a moment, because at the end of the khutbah, I'll be talking about a comparison between Plato, the Greek philosopher, and Al-Farabi, the Muslim philosopher, about what are the qualifications of a ruler, who should be a ruler. And both differ in very significant ways. So now let's start. That Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam is now sitting in his court. And his court was attended not by human beings, but also by jinn and birds. And you can say, if you want to stretch your imagination, that jinns could be his secret service, and the birds could be his spies, the space spies, scouting the skies and getting news from overseas, for which there was no other means. So one of his main spies or main birds was Hudhud or Hoopoe. We have Hoopoe Advisor as well by Bilal Karim. I'm not selling anything. So the bird, the spy bird was missing. This raised alarms. One soldier is not attending the court. What's going on? And remember, this was not an ordinary bird. He was a special person. He had a special mission. He was bringing news. And the concern is, has he left us? Has he joined his liaison He has changed his loyalties.
I didn't get that.
Or was he?
Again,
Was he a double agent?
my apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
No, I'm not saying anything to you. Please be quiet. I don't know how to shut it, but anyway. So now, he is missing. So he says, فَقَالَ مَا لِيَ لَا أَرَى الْهُدْهُدَ أَمْ كَانَ مِنَ الْغَائِبِينَ. Why don't I see the hudhud? Is he missing? Why is he missing? And then he makes a statement of a very powerful person who will not tolerate anyone doing such thing to him, to be a double spy, not to attend a meeting without any prior notification or to change loyalties. Very important thing. So say, لَأُعَذِّبَنَّهُ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا, number one. Or لَأَذْبَحَنَّهُ, third. Or لَيَأْتِيَنِّي بِسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. There are three options for him. If he finds out that he has left them, then I will punish him most severely. If he was a double spy and is spying against us, we'll kill him. Or if none of this is true and he has a reason, then we'll ask him to prove it, to give us a reason why he was not present here. And that will be that he brings me a convincing excuse, not any excuse, but something that really convinces me that there was very good reason why he's missing. فَمَكَثَ غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ. It was only a short while that the hudhud appeared. فَقَالَ أَهَدْتُ بِمَا لَمْ تُهِدْ بِهِ وَجِئْتُكَ مِنْ سَبَإٍ بِنَبَإٍ يَقِينٍ. The word yaqeen. So the hudhud said, did not take long time in coming, and he said, I have just found out that which you do not know. Now this also tells us a very important thing. Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam was a Nabi. But Nabis do not have unlimited knowledge. They do not have complete knowledge of the ghaib. They know more than any other human being does. Because ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِي إِلَيْكَ. They get the news of the unseen from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But their source of knowledge is Allah. And they don't know everything. So this has to be understood. So that's why he's saying that which you do not know. And I have brought you reliable information about the people of Sheba. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything that we have to understand. So the state of Saba was somewhere in Yemen, and it was being ruled by a woman. Her name is not mentioned in the Quran, but her name is mentioned to be Bilqis. This story is obviously not in Torah because that was before Sulaiman ﷺ was born, but it comes in other books of the Old Testament. If you read the Quranic narrative, there is nothing critical of a woman being a leader. In fact, she is being praised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who do you say, Inni wajadtu imra'atan tamlikuhum wa utiyat min kulli shay'in wa laha arshun azim. He describes three things about her. First, that I found that a woman is ruling them, something that surprised him. Second thing, that not only she is ruling them, but she has been provided with everything that she needs to rule, which means she is very qualified. She has all the provisions, she has all the qualities of being a ruler. And third, she has a magnificent throne, Arshun Azim. This throne becomes an important symbol later on. But then he said, I also found something different. This is not everything that I'm telling you, I found something else as well. Despite being a queen, an intelligent woman, having all the resources to rule, and having a great throne, I still find that there's something lacking in their smartness. Instead of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are worshipping the sun worshippers. وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ. Now, this part that I'm reading, is it a statement of Hupu? Is it a statement of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam? Or is this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's comment? We don't know. But the shaitan has beautified their deeds for them. They are engaged in worshipping something that even a bird thinks is nonsense, but they think that they're doing something great, and that happens to human beings. فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ. And the beautification of their misdeeds is something that is preventing them from seeing the reality. They are not on the right path. فَهُمْ لَا يَهْتَدُونَ. And that's why they are not able to find the guidance. This actually is a very fantastic verse, a very psychological, you can say, verse, that even a bird can see what human beings don't see. Sometimes we see the reality right in front of us, but we are deceived. We don't see it as reality. And sometimes we see falsehood in front of us and we are deceived. We consider it to be reality. So actually, if you keep this statement in your mind, inshallah, when we discuss the next khutbah, I will be talking about the appearance and the reality, which actually is one of the themes of this surah and this story, where whatever the people of Sabah and the queen were doing was a delusion, and that delusion is removed by some tactics of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, some strategy, and she sees the reality, just like daylight. She comes out of the darkness, and instead of worshipping the sun, she starts worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I found this very interesting. So after having listened to him, Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam kind of calmed down. And he says, Qala sananzur asadaqta am kunta minal kazibin. Okay, I will accept your excuse at this point, but I still need to verify. Are you truthful or are you lying? So now the burden is upon Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. He has heard the statement of the bird, giving a very valid excuse. Now he says, I still need to verify you. So here I will mention a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ about accepting the excuses of people. Somebody has done something that you didn't like, but if he's giving you or she's giving you some excuse, it's better to first accept the excuse and then you can do whatever you want to do. So the hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, ليس أحد أحب إليه المدعو من الله عز وجل ولا أحد أكثر معاذير من الله عز وجل. Prophet ﷺ is giving two qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first, he said that no one loves to be praised more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, we should thank Allah. And no one accepts more excuses than Allah Almighty. We keep making mistakes and we keep asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgive us, forgive us, forgive us. Because we have a yaqeen that Allah will accept. If we want Allah to forgive us, why can't we forgive others? And I'll mention another incident which is from Abu Masud Ansari radiallahu ta'ala. One day he was actually punishing his servant when the Prophet ﷺ passed by and said, stop. And he said, Ya Rasulullah ﷺ, this guy keeps making mistakes. He said, don't you make mistakes? I'm just giving you paraphrases. Yeah. He said, don't you want Allah to forgive you? He said, yeah, but how many times can I forgive my servant? And the Prophet's answer was, as many times as you want Allah to forgive you. Just look at the depth of this statement. As many times as you want Allah to forgive you, you should forgive others. So now Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam wants to test. So he said, Idhab bi kitabi hadha. He has written a letter now. So he said, take this letter from me. Fa'alqihi ilayhim. Throw it down, deliver it to them. Summa tawalla anhum. Then stay aside. Fanzur maza yarjun. And see what they do with it. What's their reaction? Very pithy, very precise instructions. Take this letter, deliver it to them. Don't do anything, just watch and see what they do and bring me the news. Okay. So now our Mufassirin tried to fill in the blanks and they used their imagination to see what would have happened between this verse and the next verse. So they're saying that this queen, she was not married, she's a woman, she's surrounded by all males. She used to sleep in her bedroom, locking all the windows and all the doors. So no one can have access to it. Okay. So now, the next morning when the queen wakes up, she finds a letter by her bedside, by her pillow or something, and she's surprised. Where did it come from? No one has access. There's no broken door, no broken window. Where did this letter come from? It couldn't have dropped from the roof. There is no hole in it. So she recognizes that something remarkable is about to happen. She said, Qalat ya ayyuhal malaw. She's now sitting in a court as well, and she's talking to her chiefs. Inni ulqiya ilayya kitabun kareem, the description. Indeed, an honorable letter has been delivered to me. And our scholars, as is their habit, they say, why did she describe this letter as kitabun kareem, an honorable letter, instead of saying that a letter has come to me? First of all, they said because it was delivered in very unusual circumstances. She could not have accepted it. Second, they said that it was written beautifully, husnul mazmoon. Thirdly thing that she recognized that the name of Sulaiman is mentioned, that is from a king, it has to be honorable. And another thing that is mentioned is that there was a seal on it. And there is a story behind that, why our scholars mention this. They mentioned that when the Prophet ﷺ, after the conquest of Makkah, he had some time, there was no fighting. He started sending out letters to the kings and rulers of other countries. And it was mentioned to him, ﷺ, that those kings will not accept the letters unless it has a seal on it, to make sure that nobody has tampered with it. And it's a seal of some great person. So he had a seal which Khatam of the Prophet ﷺ, which had Muhammad Rasulullah ﷺ written on it. So the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that the honor of a letter is its seal. And it was told him that they will not accept it until you have a seal. So he had a seal made for himself. So now what are the contents of the letter? Very precise, very, as I mentioned, Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam's habit. First he starts, Innahu min Sulaiman. So he identifies himself, who is the letter from. And he doesn't say it is from Sulaiman the Magnificent, Sulaiman the King of the Kings, Sulaiman the Powerful. Just say it is from Sulaiman. Humbleness of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. وَإِنَّهُ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ, and it is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Quran is actually teaching us the manners of writing a letter. Identify who is the letter from. Start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Why Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? Yusuf Ali says that Sulaiman expressly begins his letter with the formula of the true and universal religion of unity. It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the most merciful, always merciful. Which means this letter is not carrying any threat to you. Secondly, this message is not my message. It's the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like the sun that you worship. He is the most merciful, the ever dispenser of grace. So he invites her to the true faith, the new people with whom he establishes honorable relations, not for worldly conquest, but for the spreading of the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next part, Allah ta'alu alayya wa atuni muslimin. Simple translation, exalt not yourselves against me, but come unto me in willing surrender. And Muhammad Asad actually starts this translation by saying, God says. So according to him, this statement is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam is conveying to them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the greatest. Rejection of this invitation will not do you any good, because you are up against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not up against me. It's against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Muslim in surrender, he is not saying that surrender your kingdom to me, that I become your ruler. It's actually surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what Muhammad Asad understood, and I'm happy with that. So now, what should be done? This is a critical point for a woman. She's a leader. She has written a letter that could be construed as a threat against her own sovereignty, or that could be a message of good relationships and an invitation to a new faith. She has a difficult decision to make. What should she do? So she calls for a meeting of her counselors and says, قالت يا أيها الملأ, O my chiefs, my foreign minister, my chief of army staff, my director of intelligence, all of you together, aftuni fi amri. Give me your advice in this matter. Say, fi amri. I am faced with this problem because I am the queen. The letter has come to me and I have to answer it. But I want your advice as well. Ma kuntu qatiyatan amran hatta tashhadun. I will not make a decision until you give me your counsel. It's a very interesting thing that she is involving her cabinet into decision making. And if you look at, it's called shura or mashwara. The Prophet ﷺ was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, involve even the hypocrites in the decision making. And once you have made the decision, stick by it. Then put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she is already demonstrating that quality of involving everybody. So what should be the answer of our counselors? Now the ball is in their court. And they gave an answer that Razi said that it's a very balanced answer, the answer which they gave. So they said, Qalu, they said, Nahnu ulu quwwatin. First of all, we are strong. They obviously have to say that. They cannot say, oh, we are afraid, we cannot do anything. So first is an expression, we are strong enough, don't worry about it. Wa ulu basin shadidin, a paraphrases will be, we have enough experience. We are hardened by war, we have participated in many wars before. We have the strength, we have the experience. But they are not saying, let's go and fight. That's why Razi says that this is a very balanced answer. The first you show, we are with you, we are strong, we have experience, you can count on us. But then the reality is there. Wal amru ilayki. But the decision still lies in your hand. So this is fanzuri madha tamurin. So you decide. Whatever is your wish. If you want us to go to war, we will go. We are prepared for it. But still the decision will be in your hand. So army is not taking over the government here. So Imam Razi considers the response to be a good one as it is balanced between a deference or respect to the queen and a display of strength. Others note that the queen likely knew more than they did in any case, and hence her question was more diplomatic than practical. In Fusus al-Hikam, Ibn Arabi notes, he has written a more philosophical tafsir of the Quran, that the queen's handling of the letter from Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam demonstrated her superiority and worthiness to rule. Such attributes, along with her willingness to embrace a true faith when challenged, unlike other figures such as Pharaoh, can also be interpreted as constituting, I want you to focus, as constituting a Quranic model for the beneficent and wise female leadership and governance. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولذكر الله أكبر. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. The time is rather short, so I will not go into Plato and Al-Farabi today. There are quite a few announcements to be made. The first one is that there will be an exhibition in the basement today. It's the Unity and Diversity in Islamic Art and Architecture exhibition. And we have a visiting specialist, Dr. Abdul Rahman, who is a former director of School of Architecture and Design in Lahore. He has done extensive and phenomenal research on Islamic architecture. He has authored numerous publications on this subject. So he will be here right after the khutbah, and we have another guest, my good friend, Brother Usman, who is president of the Worcester Islamic Center, who has very kindly agreed to come here, and he will be talking about this project, so I'll be happy to listen to him. And once it is done, we are all welcome to go down to the basement for the exhibition. The request that I have received, one of them is a very special request, very dear to my heart, that will be at the in the last. But first request is from Masjid Ar-Rahim in Marlborough. It says Islamic Seminary in a way. They conduct the full high school, Islamic high school. And that Muhammad Arifuddin of Framingham, who is father of Hafiz Asifuddin, is severely ill in the ICU. And the request is to make dua. So make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that out of His mercy, out of the fact that we are standing here in His house on Friday, but according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, no dua is made in a sa'a, in a particular time, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept. So all the dua that we make will be accepted. So Allahumma rabban nas azibil bas ishfi anta shafi la shifa illa shifak shifa la yughadiru saqama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give health and life to Brother Muhammad Arifuddin. Make his life a source of blessing to himself, to his community, to his family, and give him the strength and the health to do more and more acts of worship to you and acts of charity and benefit to the community. The next dua is again from Islamic Society of Framingham, that Brother Abdul Razak Lawal of Framingham has passed away. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him the highest level in Jannatul Firdaus. اللهم اغفر له وارحمه وادخله في جنة الفردوس. اللهم أعيذه من عذاب القبر ومن عذاب النار. أما أغسله بالماء والثلج والبرد ونقيه من الخطايا كما نقت الثوب الأبيض من الدنس. The next dua, I don't know what dua we can make for a child who came into this world last Friday, only for a very precious, priceless, and invaluable 1 hour, enlivening the lives of his parents, grandparents, siblings in our community. And after 1 hour, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him back. You may all remember Brother Salman Dar, may Allah have mercy upon his soul. He used to come to this masjid. He passed away in 2016. His wife, his sister Nafa, I don't know whether she is here today. She usually comes for Fridays. Their daughter is Chandni Salman. She's like my daughter. She's married to Tufan Sadozai, whose father, Dr. Khalid Sadozai, has been involved in community work for over 30 years, my role model. He's currently the chairman of the board of the Worcester Islamic Society of Greater Worcester. So Chandni Salman and Urfan Sadozai, it was their son, and they already knew that his life will be very short, but they still continued the pregnancy after discussing with several experts in bioethics and religious ethics. And the child came here, survived for an hour, and then left for Jannah. I've never seen parents and a family so brave and so patient than that family. We all cried. But they had the heart and the courage to come to the community, to come in front of the community, and Chandni gave an inspirational talk last Sunday in the masjid. So the thing that I'm kind of debating is hard to speak as well. What kind of dua can one make for a child who never committed any sin? And we also think, why did it happen? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give life 9 months of labor in the mother's womb, protected by 3 layers of covering from the evil eye and the evil ways of this world, to be born and then to just pass away? The only consolation that I can think of is that this was a test for the parents, and inshallah this child will be in Jannah before any one of us. And he will be welcoming his parents, his siblings, his grandparents, his aunts, uncles, cousins, and everybody in the Jannah before them. I did some research, what dua can one make for such a child? But actually dua is for the parents and the family. But there are a few things which our scholars have mentioned, which I will mention, that we start with Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and Allahumma jal qabrahu rawdatun min riyadil Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make his grave a part of the Jannah. Make him a treasure for his parents and their shafi and their intercessor on the day of judgment. And as the Prophet ﷺ in hadith has mentioned, that such children are actually a curtain or a barrier between their parents and the hellfire, which means they will direct them to Jannah, inshallah. And for their parents, Allahumma azim bihi ujurahum, Allah increase their darajat, their ajr because of that. Wasaqqil bihi mawazinahum, and make the balance of good deeds heavier on the day of judgment. Wa alhiqu bis-salih salfil mu'minin, and join them with the salih people of this ummah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him a bird among the bird of Jannah. Allahumma, you created him and you took him and you're merciful. No one is more merciful than you are. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him an intercessor again for their parents. Allahumma arbit ala qulubihim, strengthen their hearts at this loss. Warzuqhum as-sabr, and give them the patience. And in lieu of their being patient, give them the Jannah, inshallah. So make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma inna radina bima katabta lana faktubna ma'as sabirin wa bashirna bima wa'adtahum wajburna bi lutfika ya kareem. Strengthen their hearts with your kindness and your mercy. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. So as I mentioned earlier, we have two guests here. One is Dr. Abdul Rahman visiting from Pakistan, and the other guest is Brother Usman, who is the president of Worcester Islamic Center. So after we have finished the prayers, they will be coming here. So please, if you have a few moments to spare, sit here. Waqimus Salah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
La ilaha illallah. Make your line straight. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم